Alright, day 3, 10 videos, 10 days. Considering my previous track record of uploading, if we pull this off, we are going very fucking well. I've left this one really late, so it's kind of just going to be one that I can get done in my office. Subject, getting an apprenticeship, and then obviously secondly to that, leading on to that, is keeping an apprenticeship. There's plenty of work out there. It's a numbers game. If you get rejected a few times, don't take it to heart. I'll preface this whole conversation with that. Going from there, as far as like how to find someone that might give you an apprenticeship. If you're VCAL, high school, wanting to leave high school, go off into the world and do your own thing, Google. Just Google carpenters near me. Call them up, see what they've got going on. If they can't help you, they might know someone that can. On from that, if you kind of want to find someone that's already looking, there's like Gumtree and Facebook. Like, you just make a post in a Facebook group. Whatever your local notice board is, jump on there, make a post. You'll probably do pretty well out of that as well. If you're mature age, it's a little bit harder. I'll get to that sort of after I've run through my list. If you see me looking to the right, it's because I've got a list of shit here, so I don't forget anything. So yeah, once you've found someone to call, most important thing, don't get your parents to call. For fuck's sakes, do not have your mother call up your potential employer and ask for a job on your behalf. Like, no one's expecting you to speak like a professor in a university. Just ring, speak clearly, speak confidently. If you don't know the answer to a question, don't bullshit. No one cares if you don't know, but they do care if you bullshit. While you're on that initial phone call, I wouldn't ask about payday either. It's kind of, you don't want to look like you're just doing it for the money. That said, if you go on site and it's not talked about in like the first few days when you will get paid and what you'll get paid, that kind of thing, that's a bit of a red flag for that employer. I'd be concerned about it anyway. Yeah, so that's pretty much the phone call. Like, if you ring up and say that you're keen and you want to have a go and you're happy to start whenever, most blokes will give you a shot if they're actually looking for someone. If they're not looking for someone, don't take it to heart. It's nothing to do with you. They just don't want anyone else in their business right now. Just hop off that phone call, call someone else. If you get called in for an interview, that's obviously a good thing. They probably just want to make sure that you are a real person and that you're capable of doing the job. If it's an on-site interview, don't have a smoke midway through. You would think I wouldn't have to mention that, but yeah, I do. Sort of on top of that, provided everything goes well, like, I can't really tell you anything to get you through the interview phase. Like, for me personally, when I'm putting on an apprentice, I don't do a heap with interviews, just because when you're that age, what are you going to tell me anyway? You know what I mean? If you're in school, there's no previous working history I can look into. There's no employers I can call. It's just kind of get you on site and see if you're up to it. As far as your first day on site, catching an Uber isn't a reliable way of getting to somewhere to meet your boss. Bring a pair of steel-toed boots. Ask about high vis if you need it or not. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Depends what you're going into. And bring your own lunch. Don't rely on someone to take you to the shops. This is all provided you don't have a car, but even if you do, bring your own lunch, especially for the first day when you're learning how things run with them. Isn't terrible advice. If you're a mature age, I'd recommend doing a bit of prep work prior to sort of jumping on the phone and that. So I'd see if there's like a night class or something like that you can do, or jump in with your carpenter mates on weekends and see if they need a hand and just try and get a feel for it. It's harder, obviously, because you're paid more. So if you can sort of make sure that the employer is getting their money's worth straight out of the gate, then that'll put you a long way ahead in trying to find an apprenticeship in your mature age. As far as things that'll get you fired, for me, I've pretty much got 3 rules. If I see you on your phone in the first day, and it's not before or after work or on smoko, I'm probably not going to ask you back the next day. If I see you taking a shit, again, if it's not before work, during smoko or after work, I'm probably not going to take you back the next day. It sounds kind of rude. If you've got a medical emergency on that day, probably say. But yeah, especially on the first day, you just shouldn't need to. Like, it's fucking strange, but the people that I've seen do it generally aren't as good as the people that don't. And my third thing is you've got to get along with my current boys. We're a pretty small crew, and I can't have people not getting along. I don't have the time in my day to deal with it, and I don't care enough. If you're abrasive towards my other team members, then I won't get you back the next day either. That's kind of about it. Like, a bit of initiative, try and think about what's coming up next. So for me, one thing I've noticed with the better guys that I've had working for me, especially when they're starting, they'll ask, they won't ask me what I want them to do next. They'll have already thought about it. So instead of saying, what do you want me to do next? They'll ask, can I start sweeping up this? Do you want that moved? Do I need to go and cut for someone else? That's probably something you'd pick up in your first weekish. Kind of start to try and guess a little bit what the next move's going to be. You're probably not going to get it right, and it doesn't really matter. It more just shows that you're actually thinking about what you're doing and actively engaged in it. For me, I think it's a really good thing to see, and it's only small. And then the last thing I'd say is, if you get stuck doing shit work, it is what it is. You're the newest on the crew. You're probably the cheapest. You might be the youngest, you might not. But it's not because he doesn't like you that you have to fucking push a broom or something like that, or dig a hole. Someone's got to do it, and it's most likely going to be you if you're the new guy. Also, buying tools is a really good thing to see. If you mostly your tool belt, especially in your first year, your employer will provide most of your tools, but he's not going to provide you a tool belt. So with my boys, I'll lend them a tool belt for a few weeks. It gives them a chance to actually make some money. If they're fresh out of high school, they've probably only worked at Woolies or something like that. I'm not going to expect them to show up with one on the first day. But yeah, after a couple of weeks, I'll expect to see that they've bought their own nail bag, bought their own tape measure, bought their own hammer, that kind of thing. Not so much because they couldn't just keep using my stuff, but it shows a commitment to the trade and that they're actually serious about it. It's an easy thing to do. Other than that, just try and get there a few minutes early. 10 minutes early is probably ideal, but a couple of minutes early is a couple of minutes early. I've never been one for you've got to be 15, 20 minutes early. I think that's just a waste of time. Other than that, just enjoy it. If you're stuck, if you get caught with nothing to do, either pick up a broom and start sweeping, or actually really intently watch what people are doing, so it's not just downtime and that you are actually learning. It's the main thing. You'll learn more watching than anything. Trade school's good to an extent. You learn a lot about the code and that kind of thing. But as far as where you actually get the skills to be a carpenter, that's all on site. I went to trade school and there is fuck all going on at that joint. So yeah, on site's your most important time. If you're relying on trade school to actually learn your trade, you're pretty fucked, to be honest. Yeah, other than that, just enjoy it, work hard, and you should be alright. You'll get through your couple of years. If you're lucky, you'll get signed off early. I think you can get signed off in 3 years. It doesn't have to be 4. And then, yeah, the world's pretty much your oyster. So enjoy it and have fun.